Okay, I'll call the meeting to order, and we'll start with with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Mayor Kratzky, I am present. Groko,
Present.
Fall, absent tonight. Padilla is absent. Rose,
Present.
and Eker.
Here.
We have a couple changes to the agenda. We are going to remove 9C I, the I and I. Ty will have information for us at our next meeting. And then we're also going to remove 11C regarding the baseball tournament hosting agreement. There's just some insurance stuff that has to be looked into before we talk about that, so it'll probably be on next, do you think it'll be on next time?
Yes, April
Next
2nd
agenda?
meeting, yes.
Okay.
And
Any
then
other changes to the agenda?
just wanted to mention that I already mentioned it to you all, but ordinance number 372, there's an updated version on your table this evening.
Okay. If there's no other changes, we need a motion to accept the agenda for tonight, March 19th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Eker, seconded by Rose. Any discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Comments, updates, concerns? Do we have any citizens here that would like to speak with us tonight? We have Chief Eichten.
Good evening, everyone. Just really quick, information for the council. For those of you that saw the Facebook post this morning, you know what it's about. For those of you that have not, check it out later tonight. But basically, I had the opportunity to nominate an officer for an award through the Axtel Group. They were collaborating with the Minnesota Wild to honor an outstanding law enforcement professional. They were looking for chiefs to nominate an officer. I nominated Officer Karen Zimney under individuals with strong community connections and those who work behind the scenes to ensure community safety. It was pretty awesome. Karen was selected for the award. She got 2 free tickets to a Minnesota Wild game, and then during the first period, they paused, or during a break, they put her up on the big jumbo screen and recognized her as a hometown hero, and she got to go and waved everybody, and she really enjoyed it. It was a good time. And then she asked my wife and I to come with her, so we went up there and got to spend the day with her and her husband as well. So it was pretty cool that she got recognized in front of the whole crowd. So just thought I'd let the council know.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
well-deserved honor, and for her, she's an outstanding officer, so
Thank you.
thank you. Any other updates from citizens? Council members, any updates? City staff?
No.
Okay. So moving on to the consent agenda, we'll take a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion from Eker. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Groko. Any questions about it? Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We'll come back to our public hearings at 7. Communications, requests, and petitions. There's lots of stuff going on. Sourdough class, library week, archaeological discoveries at the library, senior center expos coming up, no scams prevention trainings coming up, and then Earth Day at the library. Moving on to department committee reports and action items. First one is Public Works, 9C2, utility tractor replacement. And Ty is here and will present to us.
Good evening, everybody. The first thing we have is a utility tractor replacement. Public Works is seeking to replace its current utility tractor. Our current tractor is a 2001 Case CX90, and we'd like to replace it with a new John Deere 5105M. The tractor is used to pull the 15-foot batwing mower. This replacement is on the capital replacement schedule for this year. We received 2 quotes for the new tractor, 1 quote from C&B Operations and 1 quote from Midwest Machinery, excuse me. Both companies said the current tractor we have as it sits would sell on the lot for about $20,000. Both would offer a trade-in of around 16.5. although it's not included one of the quotes, that's what they said. For the quotes, Midwestern Machinery quote was, with the trade, $73,204.50, and C&B Operations quote was $68,500. Currently, we have $63,000 allocated for the tractor and the capital replacement. That would leave $5,500, and we would propose the remainder split between water, storm sewer, line 400 budgets. This would be about $1,850 for each department, and we do use that for streets, stormwater, water, and sewer. We actually use them for 4 departments, so. Yeah, so we're just asking to accept the low quote of $68,500 from C&B Operations with the trade-in.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion to approve the low quote of $68,500 from C&B with trade for utility tractor.
Is there a difference on how quickly they can get it? I mean, as far as, I'm sure there's a lead time on them
Lead time sounds like it's between 6 and 8 months.
for both places?
Yeah. So we wouldn't get it until probably after the mowing season's over, so.
What is that case, like a 2001?
2001, yep. And we purchased that new.
I'll make the motion to do the 68.5 from C&B Operations.
We have a motion from Rose. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Groko. Any further discussion?
And that includes the trade-in?
Yeah, with the trade and,
All in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we have radio detection line tracer.
So, the line tracer we have, the transmitter went bad. It is a 2005 model. We bought that new also. We were actually at the convention up in St. Cloud and got to talk to a couple salesmen. And one of the salesmen had the original sold, well, he didn't sell the original, but he sold the same brand. And he says they do not work on anything over 12 to 15 years old, of course. So, so we're looking at, we got a quote from him, and we actually got a quote from Utility Logic for a new line tracer. The quotes are below. The radio detection, a new version of that was $53.37, and Utility Logic's was $57.80. And we actually would like to get the Utility Logic. It's got a few more bells and whistles, but the radio detection unit doesn't come with lithium batteries or a charger, and any of the clamps in the Utility Logic piece of equipment does. It comes with all that stuff. Our original unit that broke, in 2005, we paid $3,800, almost $3,900 for it. Fiscal impact would be from the water line budget $4,400 for $57.80.
How often do we use it?
Not very often. It's one of those things that, what's bad is, we would, it's something we could share with a different town, but the other town already bought a brand new one like a year or two ago. So, and they, whenever we share, we try to share between towns. It's usually us that goes to the other town trying to share something. It seems like when they want something, they just get it. They don't ask if we want to share. So that's kind of where we sit. We don't use it that often, but when we use it, we need it. So it's one of those pieces of equipment type of thing. Like I said, this one, the one that just went bad is 20 years old. So we probably expect to use that one for the next 20 years. So.
Mark, what do you think about not taking the lowest bid?
Huh?
So I would say What is the reason we're taking the lowest bid, not taking the lowest bid?
Because it doesn't include a higher-end battery and a charger for that battery. It comes with, you have to put the regular D-cell batteries in it and change them out instead of just plugging it in and recharging. And a lot of the clamps that you put on lines and electrical lines don't come with that unit. And the other unit, everything's included.
So if what I'm hearing from the staff is that the higher bid is actually a better,
It turns out to be pretty equal.
those are the types of things we can look into. And if, I guess the guidance we're getting from staff is that the higher bid is actually situated better for the city and its interests, then I think that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I worked for the city too for a while. It sucks spending that much money on anything that, I mean, we used it. I mean, I worked for 5 years and I think we used it twice, three
Right.
times maybe.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I do the same thing in Norwood. I think ours sits 99.9% of the time too.
I think
but-
most towns have that issue.
Because, does rural water do that where they, I know they'll do some line tracing? 'Cause, I mean, most of the stuff's GIS already, right?
Yeah. So the neighboring town actually bought a utility logic version, but they bought one with a GIS that's in the unit itself. And the price actually goes from 5,700 to a little over 13,000. So I think they paid a little over 12 for theirs, so.
Which
and we-
town are we talking, that way or that way? That one?
That way, yep.
Is it something we could rent from them occasionally?
I'm sure we probably could, yeah. I can ask them.
Can you just table it?
Table it and have you look into that?
I'll talk to their public works guy and see what they say. If it's just a matter of borrowing it maybe every once in a while, or renting it per time or something.
I'd say rent it, because I'm sure them paying that much, I'm sure they would like a little income.
Right.
Well, and even, I mean, rural water, maybe if they have something.
Well, like I said, if they would have purchased the unit we're looking for without the GIS, we could have bought 50% of it, and it would have saved us a ton of money, but, yeah, so.
If you don't mind looking into it and then bring it
Yeah.
back next meeting and
Yep.
we'll talk about it more.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next on is 9C4, picnic table purchases.
Parks Department would like to purchase 6 picnic tables for the park. The new tables that we're looking at will be 11 gauge perforated metal seats in the top, as compared to the wood picnic tables we have now. These are a lot heavier duty than the current ones we have. They're kind of comparable to the ones that are at the swimming pool. The color will be like a granite-ish, like a lightish gray color. A lot of our current picnic tables in the park are pretty worn badly, and the tubing on the bottom because they've been drug around so much. Yeah, replacing the wood tables with the new style, it also eliminates the need to replace the wood or repaint every other year, it seems like we're doing. And we actually, these items were budgeted in the capital outlay part of the park budget. We set aside 10,000. We would like to get 6 picnic tables, and the totals would be $9,106. And we kind of want to continue this over the years and replace them with all the same, so we can eventually replace all those wooden picnic tables.
How much is freight gonna be though?
That I don't know.
Probably 1,000 or so.
It's probably
Guessing
gonna
at
be
least 1,000.
around $1,000 or a little under.
I mean, basically, you wouldn't be getting rid of stuff until it goes bad, on like the wood table side.
Yeah, so some of them need to be
Yeah.
replaced, yeah.
But it's not like you're gonna be throwing away.
Yeah, we're not gonna throw away 20 picnic tables one shot. We're pretty gonna much get rid of the rotten ones that are bent up and things like that,
Yeah, some of those are pretty rough looking down there.
yeah.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion to approve the purchase of 6 picnic tables from Outdoor School Furniture in the amount of $9,100.
So moved.
We have a motion from Eker. Do we have a second?
Just a question, I mean, do we do just five?
Wait,
to stay
you got a
there?
motion on the table.
Oh, okay.
Need a second first.
I'll second.
Seconded by Groko.
Now you can ask.
Now any discussion?
I was just gonna ask as far as, before you motioned, if you're gonna question that, if maybe just do five to stay under the 10,000.
What?
We're good. I was just gonna ask if you wanna do five to stay under the 10,000 mark, but
Well, I
we're
think
good though.
Ty said with the budget, the park board's budgeting like $10,000 a year.
Yeah, it's capital
So-
outlay is
We're
10,000.
we're all, I started
Yeah.
to speak right as you made your motion, so I was like, oh,
Oh,
kinda,
sorry.
pull me back.
Are you good?
I'm good,
Okay.
thanks.
Any other discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Ty.
And that's all I have. Unless anybody's got any other questions. Great, that's all I have. Thanks.
Okay, next on our agenda is the police department, and we have 91 liquor establishment violations.
Good evening again. Yes, just the one item on the agenda tonight, which would be the liquor establishment violations. Back on Friday, February 28th, the Gaylord Police Department conducted underage alcohol compliance checks at our local businesses here in town. Unfortunately, two of the businesses did not pass the compliance checks and sold alcohol to a minor. Attached in the packet here is a copy of the letters that both owners of the businesses received, and then as well as a copy of our city ordinances pertaining to, I guess, liquor regulations. The city council is basically requested to review the city ordinances and decide what enforcement action should be, is appropriate. And I believe both the business owners are in audience tonight.
Mark, I guess I've asked him to go over the ordinances with the council. And then you have, they're here this evening, so you can give them an opportunity to speak to the council as well.
Okay.
You can either do that first or have Mark go.
I'd
through it.
recommend giving them a chance to address the council before we talk about the ordinance.
Would either of you like to, or both of you like to speak? How about David, would you like to speak, address the council? Okay. Then I'll send it back to you, Mark.
Sure. Thank you. So what the council has before tonight is a liquor ordinance violation under Chapter 113 of the city's ordinance. And it appears to be an apparent failure of a licensee to meet one of the conditions of their license, namely selling intoxicating beverages to somebody under the age of 21. What our ordinance states is that the license holder needs to be afforded the right to address the city council on the matter, and that is what we're doing tonight. Based upon representations made by the police department in this operation, that they sent in an underage person with money, and that person attempted to purchase alcohol and in fact was sold alcohol by both of these establishments, which appears to be an apparent violation of Chapter 113 of the city code. In such event, the city code states that city council shall either suspend for a period not to exceed 60 days or revoke any liquor license upon the finding that the licensee has failed to comply with any applicable statute, regulation, or provision of this chapter relating to liquor. So that's the first step for the city council, is to make a finding, yes or no, that they believe that the city ordinance was violated. In such a case, the city code is pretty clear that the council has to issue a penalty under the ordinance, and that includes, for the first violation, within any 3-year period, which it appears for both of these establishments, this would be a first violation, at least a 1-day suspension, and a civil penalty for a first violation for $500.
So you're saying we have to do that?
Well, first, I think there needs to be a finding whether or not they violated the city code. And then in such a case, it appears our city code is pretty explicit with regard to a mandatory penalty of at least a one-day revocation and a $500 civil fine. Where the council does have discretion, though, is in deciding how long that revocation would be, from one day, on. And in terms of the penalty, it appears that it's pretty explicit that for the first violation, it's $500. So the discretion that council has is deciding how long that revocation would be.
So what do you mean we have to decide if they violated the code or not?
So based upon what you're hearing today and what is in the police reports, which I guess are not included here, but whether or not there appears that there was a violation of the code, which would be selling of intoxicating beverage to a minor.
Well, wasn't that already done by the police department?
Correct.
So then, I guess I don't understand why you say that we have to decide if they broke it. If it was legit, they sent in a minor, they served a minor, or sold to a minor, police issued them a ticket. It's done, right?
So for the purposes of what we're doing here tonight, I think there needs to be an initial finding that there was a violation. So what you just described is probably does constitute a violation. And that needs to be part of the council's decision tonight. Otherwise, you're just kind of grasping at straws for what actually happened. Did you want to say
Is that
something?
decision by consensus, by a motion? How
It
would
would
you like
probably be part of the eventual motion.
Yeah, basically, if I can speak.
Go for it.
Yeah, basically what we did was, our enforcement action was, I guess, specifically against the person that sold the alcohol to the minor. That would be the council's decision to, I guess, essentially, for lack of a better term, punish the establishments. Like the person that sold the alcohol got charged with a crime for selling alcohol to a minor. Now it's the council's discretion, I guess, to do the civil portion against the actual business.
Okay.
Basically, us as the licensee, or they're working under their license, so.
So we don't do anything for the person that actually sold it, we're just finding the.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Correct. And then just for a little clarification, with the underage operation sting, whatever you want to call it, the person is under the age of 21. They do have their driver's license with them. If they're asked for ID, they have to show them their real driver's license. If they're asked their age, they have to tell them the truth. There's no sneakiness. There's nothing. It's just go in, and unfortunately, both of these businesses didn't card or ask age.
It seemed like cigarettes.
Yeah, basically, yes.
Just because it's not laid out in our agenda, I want to make sure I'm following proper order here. So our first action is to make that determination and then decide the consequence.
Correct.
Okay. So would anyone like to make a motion of a finding that city code was violated? How should I word it? It's not in our.
Correct.
It's
The
not laid out, so I'm just kind of.
Motion, either yay or nay for this would be a motion that the Jalisco Market, forgive me if I'm saying that incorrectly, and Neeson's Bar on February 28th violated Chapter 113 of the city's code in selling alcohol to a minor.
So is that a motion, like what you just said, so I can just say,
That would be the motion language, correct?
so moved?
So a motion by Eager. Do we have a second?
I guess I'm just reading underneath the conditions of the license here. I mean, I'm trying to figure out which one it's really falling into. I mean, is it, I get there's a law broken, but, I mean, is it,
There's still, pardon me, there's a motion on the table, so somebody has to make a second or it fails. You can still have discussion about the motion once a second has been made.
I'll second it. Seconded by Groko. Now any discussion, questions?
so my question is just, under our, I get the law is broken. I just want to make sure that we're not just saying, yep, they broke the law, that's how it is, because I'm reading over our conditions of license. I mean, would it fall under C where, you know, the city can come in and do compliance checks, or I guess I'm just trying to make sure we don't get into a spot where we're kind of making something up. Where does it say in there?
Charlie's gonna tell you.
Well, this will be more of an attorney question, but I guess I wasn't, if you give me a few minutes, I can find it here, but basically, right at the top, conditions of license, the failure of a licensee to meet any one of the conditions of the license specified below shall result in a suspension of the license until the condition is met. And then one of those is the underage.
What page is this on?
104, top of 104.
All right,
So basically what 113.32 is doing, it's a condition of the license stating that every licensee is responsible for the conduct of the place of business and the condition of sobriety and the order in it. The act of an employee on the licensed premises is deemed an act of the licensee as well, and the licensee shall be liable to all penalties provided. And the act of selling to a minor is obviously a violation of state law. So the purpose of this ordinance is to make the licensee, the establishment, civilly liable for essentially the actions of the employee which violate the law.
okay. Thanks for clearing that up.
And then I guess to be even more specific, it'd be under 113.36 subdivision B, where it talks about violating Minnesota State Chapter 340A, which is where it falls under.
Perfect, thank you. I don't know all them 340As and stuff.
Right.
So that's what I'm
Right.
asking, so.
Nope, no problem.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, now we get to move on to suspension and revocation. Does the council have any thoughts about what direction to move in with that?
Since it's the first one, I go with the least, what did you say the least amount would be? Suspension of 1 day?
Be 1 day and a $500 fine.
And we have no control over that fine that's set out. And
That's set out in the city code in terms of the leeway that you do have. You can choose pretty much any day for the suspension, so.
So you're gonna make a motion for the 1 day suspension and $500 fine?
Yeah.
So-
I'll,
That's my motion.
Okay, that's a motion. Does anyone want to second it?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Rose.
In respect to the day of suspension.
1 day. 1 day, but do we have to
1
actually
day.
pick the day?
Oh, do we have to? Oh, we do?
Mark, if you want to, maybe you can chime in on that, but yeah.
So I guess there would be two options. You can delegate to staff to choose the day, or else make it part of your motion to find a day. It could be a Monday, a Tuesday. Doesn't necessarily have to be one of their peak business days during the week.
Second Tuesday of April. I don't know.
I was like, what's significant about that?
I just,
Just
I mean, it's a first offense, I mean, like you said, I mean, I don't
It's the first offense.
just
Yeah.
pick a random
You
weekday and.
could ask them too.
What do
unless
you-
they have a-
What are your thoughts about that?
Whatever works, it's, on Monday or whatever, Monday or Tuesday if it works.
Monday or Tuesday?
You got it, can it be a Sunday? No.
What?
Easter.
Can it be a Sunday? Perfect.
I don't know,
Can it be a Sunday?
I mean, if it's a day that they're otherwise open, then yes.
Is the market open on Sundays? Yeah? Sorry, he's having a bad day back there with his nose. Should we go with Easter Sunday? That would give their employees time to spend with their families.
but are you normally gonna be open though? And would you guys be open on Easter Sunday normally? Yes? For real?
It doesn't matter to me. Someone threw an Easter Sunday and I'm willing, whatever day, if the council agrees.
As long as they're open.
As long as they would have been open.
Yes, normally.
Correct, Mark?
Correct.
Is that a motion?
Easter.
Whoever made the motion can
Yeah.
include that.
Me?
Just amend your motion
Oh,
to include that.
okay. I'll amend it to April
Whatever, when is
Easter's
Easter?
like the,
Easter's the 20th or so,
yes, there's something like that.
April 20th. Or you could just make it the first Sunday in April.
It's not the first Sunday.
Well,
It's
Easter's the
April
20th.
Yeah, Easter's the
And I will amend to include April the 20th is the day that the suspension day is.
Okay, so we have a motion by Eker. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Groko. Any other discussion, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, thank you. And thank you, Charlie, for your
And then just
work.
one more thing. Are you guys going to give some further education on karting? Perfect, thank
good.
you. It happens.
It's a-
It happens with
it's a tough-
cigarettes, it happens.
Tough lesson to learn, but you know, you learn from it, right? So. Okay. You're welcome to stay, but you're free to go. It's up to you. Grab some treats on the way out if you want to. Okay.
Public hearing.
7 o'clock, so we can go back to our public hearings now. I would have forgotten about those, so thanks for the reminder. Okay. Our first hearing is regarding ordinance number 372, an ordinance of the city of Gaylord to regulate cannabis businesses. This is something we've talked about in the past. So we're going to present some information. If there's anyone here from the public who wants to chime in, there'll be an opportunity to ask questions. Anything else I'm forgetting? Otherwise, I will open the public hearing. And do you want to present, Steve or Mark?
I can open, but I'd like to turn over to Mark, so he's the one that wrote this ordinance. As you recall, back on
Sure.
December 4th, the council did approve an emergency ordinance at that time. This is essentially the same ordinance that was adopted back then. So with that, I'll just turn it over to Mark.
Sure, I can go over the high points again, just for everybody that's tuned in back at home. If you recall, we had, in our effort towards the end of last year to kind of try and figure out where this licensing, cannabis licensing, was gonna fall, we kind of we're running out of runway, because the state was really slow getting their rules out on this, and then the county was kind of scrambling to figure out how they wanted to approach this. And we were sort of staring at a looming deadline, and so I had proposed some variation of the state, the cannabis agency's model ordinance, kind of adapted for Gaylord, and we passed an emergency ordinance. A couple days later, the state came out and said that their licensing efforts were gonna be pushed back a bunch of months, so it ended up not really being the issue that we thought it would be, but all the same, it appears that as we move through this new year, that we're kind of back on the track that licensing is probably gonna be, gain some steam here, and so we probably need this ordinance to be on the books by the time the state's efforts kind of fall into place. So the vast majority of cannabis business licensing is gonna happen on the state level. So that means that the initial applications are gonna be submitted to the Office of Cannabis Management, I think is what they're calling it. And they'll go through a pretty exhaustive, although it's not totally clear what it looks like, but a pretty exhaustive review of the businesses, the people involved in the businesses, what their practices are gonna be, what their histories are. But the statute and the rules have sort of allocated a couple of narrow areas that they want local government entities to be licensing. And so there'll be a state license. Once that process has gone through and they get their license, then it gets referred to whatever the local licensing entity is. And the city had a decision to make towards the end of last year, and I guess continues to have a decision to make whether the city wants to be the local licensing agent or if we want to delegate that power to the county. And I think ultimately the input that we got at the end of last year was that we'd like to see that stay within the city so that there's that level of, whatever level of control we're afforded, that we have that and we keep that close and we're not delegating that to the county who is otherwise perfectly competent to handle it, but perhaps their interests might not align with the city in every circumstance. One of the things that came up was limiting the amount of licenses within the city. So on the county level, I believe the number that the county was working on is that they could limit, based upon the population of the county, to 3 countywide. And all 3 of those could end up being in Gaylord, they could all end up being in Arlington. And from the city's perspective, if we're doing the local licensing, we can limit it to 1 license within the town. And if I recall, that seemed like a pretty appealing proposition. Additionally, the city would be able to control the licensing audits, the underage buys, similar to what we just talked about with the alcohol licenses. The ordinance requires that at least once a year with cannabis licensees that the police department stage buys like that, and could potentially do it more often. There's minimum buffer requirements for sensitive businesses, requiring that cannabis businesses are not allowed within those buffers. It's between 500 feet and 1,000 feet. So that's in the law too, trying to keep these businesses away from existing uses that are just not congruent with a cannabis business. That's kind of the long and the short of it. There's licensing fees that we'll charge to do the background checks, to do the zoning and building code inspections and verifications, as well as this gives us some authority to suspend licenses for violations. In terms of long-term permanent revocations, it looks like that's going to happen on the state level. But if we find a violation at a cannabis business in town, there is authority in this ordinance that's delegated by the state to revoke the license for up to 30 days while the state's investigation plays its way out. So those are really the high points. Does anybody have any questions for me?
I do not. We've talked about this in the past, and I think everything looks good. Any other questions from the council, city staff? Any questions from our audience? Okay. Then we need a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Groko, seconded by Eker. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. That public hearing is closed, and then I will move to open our next one, which is 7B on our agenda, ordinance number 375, an ordinance amending section 330.02 of the Gaylord City Code, providing reimbursement for computers and computer-related equipment.
So you recall back on the meeting on February 5th, the council talked about this. This is specifically, the council all has their own computers that they utilize for the meeting here and others. And so in the past, our code basically reads that the city will reimburse for up to $1,000 for computers and $150 for computer-related subscriptions. It was about 3 years ago when that reimbursement amounts were established and prices have gone up. And so at the February 5th meeting, the council talked about increasing those amounts to $1,500 and $300 respectively. And so those are the only changes that are proposed in section 30.02.
Okay, any questions from council? Any questions from the public? Okay, then I'll take a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Eker, seconded by Rose. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing is closed. Okay, we'll pick up where we left off in our agenda, and that would be Fire Department. So we'll invite Fire Chief Rose up to speak with us.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
As you guys probably all seen, I wrote a RCA for you guys about adding up to 4 members. The reason why we got it like that is I had one fireman talk to me. He's going to be retiring next month. And then another one is pretty much going to do it about a year from now, so we're going to probably drop 2. So that would bring us down to 22. So if we put 4 on now, that keeps us at 26. And it takes all next winter for these 4 to get through class if we get 4. So I guess I'm asking for the recommendation of 4 firemen. I did speak with Steve as far as the fiscal impact, which that would happen next year. And basically the biggest part of that is when we fit them with new gear. And you can roughly figure about $5,000 a firefighter for that. Because all the classes are reimbursable. I get that reimbursed from the state, so. So if we get 2, we get 2. If we get 3, we get 3. I mean, what comes forward? I already got 1 application down at the fire hall, and I got 1 more out in the public. So I'm hoping to get those 2 that we have now. And hopefully get 1 or 2 more, providing you guys pass this.
So how many firefighters are we supposed to have?
Usually we hover right around 24, 25.
How many will we have?
I think we are allowed up to 30. That's our top, but usually we never get there. I'm just trying to stay ahead of it here.
So how many do we have now?
24.
With 2 retiring for sure?
1 is retiring next month.
Okay,
So we'll be down to 23 come, call it May 1st.
okay.
And then another one I'm pretty sure is gonna be about a year from now. Like I said, we may not get 4, we may only get 2, you know.
But still, then it would still only be 26.
We'd still be below within our numbers, yes.
So we're looking for a motion to approve the addition of up to 4 new members to the fire department.
So moved.
We have a motion from Eker. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Groko. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll abstain.
And we have Rose abstain.
Thank you. Then just a reminder, we got our banquet coming up here on the 31st, so try to make it on down, all right?
Plan to be there.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for me? All right, thank
No,
you.
Thank you, Justin. Don't have anything for the library or city engineer tonight, so we will move on to new business. 11A is ordinance number 372. This is ordinance of the city to regulate cannabis businesses, which we just talked about in our public hearing. So we will speed that along and look for a motion to adopt ordinance number 372.
So moved.
Who wants it?
Doesn't
You
matter.
can have it.
Okay. Motion made by Groko, seconded by Eker. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next is the same thing. We need a motion to adopt ordinance number 375, an ordinance amending section 30.02 of the Gaylord City Code, providing for reimbursement of computer and computer-related equipment.
So moved.
So move.
Motion by Rose, seconded by Eker. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, under 11D, is 2025 payroll, and I will turn that over to Steve.
Actually, I was hoping that the personnel committee members here tonight would present that.
Oh,
That's okay.
that is just fine. We took
We
that out,
took it
removed
off
that
the
of
agenda. You removed it.
Well, we talked about this at a personnel committee. This year's kind of an anomaly. There are 27 pay periods versus 26. Of course, when we set our city budget, we budgeted for 26. In Steve's research, this occurs about every 11 years. We also looked to see if there was ever a 25 pay periods, and there's always a 26, other than every 11 years, because a leap year, you get this 27th pay period. So, in addition to our budget, the other thing that becomes problematic is our exempt employees who their pay is they have salaries that are divided by 26 pay periods, but now this year we have 27 pay periods, so it just kind of makes a,
But they're yearly salaries, so why wouldn't you divide them by the 27? There's still only 52 weeks in the year, I checked. So it's just the way that everything fell, but it's still a yearly salary, so they should still only get the yearly salary. 52 weeks.
I have to agree, I mean, it's the same amount of hours worked.
Yeah.
I mean, my year wasn't 372 days long, I guess.
Because there are some years that have 53, but this isn't one of them.
that 53 weeks.
Well, it'd be, like 52 and a half or something, I think, right?
No, I
is it?
checked. This one is, 2025 is a standard year, meaning it has 365 days and 52 weeks.
I mean, ultimately, I mean, is there any more hours worked than normal?
No.
And we just did do another week vacation for all three of them too, correct?
We did. I'm just confused, I'm thinking here. So, same amount of hours,
It's just the way that the pay
it's just
period-
how the pay period falls.
Right.
Correct. I mean, like, 365 is not divisible by 7. You know, so you're always gonna be off by a day or two. It just so happens that that extra day happens to be a payday this year. I think that kind of, that's where the week
There's-
comes in.
Beginning of this year, I think.
But at the end of the day, like Jessica said, I mean, it's still an annual salary.
Mark, what do you think?
So this is at the council's discretion. There's no obligation, obviously, under the contracts. So in terms of what the council wants to do, if you think that this request has merits, you certainly could go down that road and discuss what it looks like. But there isn't an obligation in the contracts or elsewhere for the council to do this.
Because there's yearly salaries divided by only this year's 27 periods compared to the 26. Wouldn't it just be the yearly salary divided by the 27?
I think where I'm hung up on, I'm trying to figure out, so non-exempt employees will earn one more paycheck. So,
But they get
But-
paid by the
But
hour.
there's still 52 weeks in a year.
but it's still 52 weeks.
Yeah.
It's just how the calendar falls. Because a
I'm not good at
salary,
math, Jessica, I'm struggling. Wrap my brain around this, like, how does this work?
so when a salary gets figured, it's based on, was it 2,080?
2,080.
Yeah, so at the end, if that's how many hours there are, then,
So for non-exempt employees too, so does part of the pay period cross over in 2024 and 2026 then?
yeah.
How our pay periods fall?
Because I think the first of the year this year was a Wednesday or a Thursday? Which I think.
The first pay period, well, the first pay period was paid out on January 1st. The last one of this year will be paid out on December 31st, just how it falls.
So basically, all the hours worked from that first
Yeah.
pay.
So we will, for the non-exempt, there will be one extra paycheck this year. So it'll be 27 pay periods. On a side note from this discussion, we will have to adjust, the budget itself reflects for 26 pay periods as far as wages are concerned, so I want to just let you know that that'll have to be adjusted throughout the year. And it'll probably, if it's just the non-exempt employees that we're talking about here for the one extra pay period, that would be equated to about 30,000. We would have to adjust the budget, which I'm confident that we can do.
At the end of the day, I guess, I don't see any hours worked more than somebody else, so an hourly worker is gonna get paid for the hours they worked, and a salaried worker, their salary is based off the 2,080 hours.
Yeah.
So really, the salaried worker is gonna get paid their salary a little bit quicker this year. I mean, really, if you just divide it by the 26, you know, you get your paid the last 2 weeks early. I mean, in that sense, but if you
What we-
spread it out to 27.
What we've been doing to date is we've divided it by 27.
Okay, so
Okay.
then you're online.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when you add up all 27, it's still gonna be the salary, right?
Correct.
And you're still gonna get the salary that you were,
Contracted for,
Okay.
yes. I don't believe, if this is your consensus, I don't believe a motion would be required. It would only be required if there was a change.
No. But one thing we talked about in personnel is like, we should need to document this in our personnel policy, so 11 years from now, we're not in the same boat. Whoever's on council, like, what do we do? Like, this is what we do to kind of set the precedent, because it does seem, you know, when it's presented, you really have to think about it, like, you want to make sure the employees are fairly compensated, so
that's
it's
why I
just,
checked on how many weeks we're here,
okay.
just to make sure.
Yeah, and I think actually some of the exempt employees are the ones that questioned it. You know, like everybody else is gonna get an extra pay period than we do. That's how the whole thing got started. So
But they're
it's to be
still
a-
making
But
the
it's,
same.
Same.
so it's like to explain,
It's just, yeah.
and, yeah.
Okay, so I just take it we have consensus to leave it as it is, other than we have to,
Oh,
Find
address
money
it
in
in the personnel policy,
yeah,
yes.
put in the, and then also like or figure it out in our budget
Right.
for the non-exempt employees. Okay. If we don't need a motion on that, then we can move to 11E, contracts expiring in 2025.
So some of you might recall, maybe, back in 2023, when we were talking about renewing contracts, I imagine it was one that came up at that particular time. It was a consensus of the council to direct staff that to let you guys know more in advance as far as when contracts are coming up. And so I just identified the ones that are coming up this year. So in case you want to go out and solicit for other proposals, in this case, maybe only one of them is even remotely, or one would be considered. Because two of them, one is with the school district for use of Walsh Field and the tennis courts that we have an ongoing agreement that has historically been for 2 years. And then the other one is with Sibley County for the library service level agreement, which is basically their contribution towards the operations of the library. That one's due to expire. That was a 3-year agreement, but that expires at the end of this year. Likely on that particular one, we'll get a proposal from the county later this year to consider at that time. So the other one that comes due here, coming up in July, is Gaylord Sanitation, the refuse contract, along with recycling. That's currently a 3-year contract. The one I forgot to put on here that has already expired, has been for many years, is the Forever Young Senior Center. We truly should get a new agreement in place for that, our rental. As you know, we rent that from the property owner, and that one's been expired for some time. So I'd like to include, I'll get that going and get that back to you. So the question tonight, do you want us to go out and solicit? I mean, again, it's probably only the Gaylord Sanitation one realistically, but do you want us to solicit more than one refuse hauler?
Have we ever had a second for that, or a second
Quote?
quote for that?
For what?
For reference?
No, because we decided that we wanted to always stay with Gaylord Sanitation because we didn't want to bring in another sanitation because we didn't want garbage trucks here all the time.
As somebody that lives in a community that has 2 service providers, that's a very good point, because you get twice as many trucks going down your roadways and twice as many opportunities for the beat up that road. It does take a wear over time. They're not subject to the springtime, what do you call it?
Cleanup?
Huh?
Oh, road restrictions.
Road restrictions, thank you.
Just to interject, it is a little bit of a process if we want to go out for new bids for sanitation contracts. So I certainly can have like a stock memo that I can provide, but a lot of times it includes setting up I think they call it a sanitation committee to go over and study, what is working in the community, what isn't. And so it's a little bit different process on the sanitation. We can just go forward with the current contract because I believe it predates when the law went into effect for organized collection like this. But just understand that there is a little bit of a different track and process if we want to go out for bids on the sanitation contract. There's no different process if we want to renew this contract with Gaylord Sanitation. It would look a lot like the last time we did this. But in terms of a new carrier, it would be a process. It's not an impossible or unattainable process, but it's just a little bit more involved than just soliciting bids like we would ordinarily do.
Council want to proceed to seek additional proposals or just renew with our existing businesses? We just need
Just
consent.
renew them.
Yeah, I think we can renew them.
Okay,
I think it's working.
okay, sounds good. You have consensus.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, any closing comments from council or staff? I just want to add, looking at our consent agenda, how much the library is doing right now, so I just want to compliment Michelle and library staff for adding all that programming. There's a lot going on there right now, so. Okay, then we are going to
Recess.
recess the meeting and have a closed meeting. The meeting shall be closed pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.05 to discuss attorney-client privilege matters related to ongoing litigation in the matter of Wagenius versus City of Gaylord based on the city's need for absolute confidentiality to consider litigation strategy related to substantive decisions affecting ongoing litigation. Okay, so,
Madam Mayor, if I could suggest.
get a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Eker and seconded by Rose. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Thank you. And are we off television?
We just waiting for her.